One of the driving principles of our mission is that dance is for everyone. And so, looking for ways to provide dance experiences to everyone in the community, we were looking at what areas of the community we weren't serving and how we could meet the needs of everyone who wants to have an experience with dance, and not only a performance, but also actually participating in the dancing. And so through our outreach, we identified Gigi's Playhouse as one potential partner for expanding our reach, and then from there created the class for our own program in our studios.
I think one of the things that we've really been working on is kind of targeting our mission, like Nicole talked about, but also making sure that the outreach that we provide and the coursework that we provide between our outreach and our school is sustainable for the people that we serve and the people that we teach. So it's important to us to make sure that we're kind of giving them a well-rounded education where they have the opportunity to learn dance themselves, but we also invite them to our dress rehearsals so that they can see a performance in our space on a real stage in costume, but without a full audience. Because for a lot of people, it's a little bit of a sensory overload to come to a full performance with, like Nutcracker, for example. We sold out all of our performances this year, which is so great, but for some people it's too crowded, it's a lot. So we have them come to our dress rehearsal, so it's a pretty empty house. They can get up if they need to. We have the dancers come out and ask them questions, or have them ask questions so that they can answer them, so that they feel more connected to the story, they feel more connected to the performers, and it's a little bit of a safer space. But we've also brought our Nutcracker to Gigi's Playhouse, for example, because some of those participants are more comfortable viewing ballet or something different like that in their own space. So we kind of like to keep our educational programming well-rounded for them to experience it in all ways.
We're going to start out things right today. We're going to start out with an amazing speaker, a lady that I've had the opportunity to work with throughout the years and knew she was a perfect person to start out this day. Alysia Lee she's such a talented woman, and as far as leading organizations, as a singer, working with youth, she is truly amazing. And I could go on and on with all of her accolades, but I just wanted to mention some of her key awards that she has been presented. One from the Kennedy Center, the Knights Foundation, National Association of University Women, and the Stockton Barrel Foundation. She's so much more, and you are going to get so much from Alysia. I'm so proud to have her here and call her a friend. Thank you.
One world, one voice, one heart beating. 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 Join me. One world, one voice, one heart beating. One, keep it up, keep it up. One heart. Keep going. One, keep going. Everybody living in this world, everybody's got a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world is one heart beating. Everybody living in this world, everybody's got a voice, let's use it. Everybody living in this world, one heart beating. Keep going. We are one world. We are one heart beating. We are one world, one heart beating. We are one world. We are one heart last time. One world, one voice, one heart beating. Thank you so much. If there's anything you can count on when I show up somewhere, we're gonna sing first, so that's how that goes. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. It's so nice to be here with all of you. I want to say thank you to April and to the wonderful team at the Anne Arundel Arts Council. The work of arts councils in our state is phenomenal. We don't see this kind of, first of all, collaborative work, the State Arts Council working collaboratively with the local councils. We don't see that in other states. And also the huge investment that our government officials make in our communities at the local level and at the state level. We don't see in other states. So let's give them a round of applause, the wonderful team at the Arts Council. And also, I just want to shout out the Chesapeake Arts Center. If you ain't been here, you need to get here. When people raised their hands, I said, oh, they need to get here. There's phenomenal things happening in this room too, but also a lot of participatory things happening on the other wing, ways that you can get actively engaged and work and learn together in community. So this is a wonderful resource for the community. All right, so I'm here today to talk about radical creativity. I can only give you a heads up and a warning that we will be creating something today. So be prepared. And I want to start with a wonderful quote from one of my favorite Instagrammers, Baba Yaga Biscuits. That's their real name. And he reminds us that every civilization that has ever been was just made up. So don't believe anyone who says it can't happen. A better world is possible. And we know that as artists, right? Because even though we're arts administrators, all of us are in arts administration because we love the arts, okay? So before we talk too much about creativity and the radical nature that it can bring, I always like to also share a little bit about who I am and where I come from, because I bring all of that with me. So here you can see a picture of me, my last job before the job I have now. Now I work at the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund, which is a hyper-local grant maker that puts money into the hands of folks that are working with young people, about $14 million a year of tax dollar funds. So we're a new fund that was also created in the wake of tragedy. So following the murder of Freddie Gray, a group of concerned citizens got together and said, we've got to invest in our young people. And so 3 cents on every $100 of our real estate revenue in Baltimore City goes towards supporting young people. We have 101 grantees. 91% of them are led by Black and brown people. And also, 86% of them are grassroots organizations. So these are organizations with budgets of $350,000 or less. So these are, it's a really kind of unique and also revolutionary way of thinking about philanthropy. And that's the work that I lead now. But that's not who I am. My job is not who I am. I am an educator. And so I come from a long line of educators. Both my parents are educators. Both are retired at this moment. My great-grandmother, when she was the age I am now, which is 42, finished raising her 4 children and went back to college because she wanted to be a teacher. That was her lifelong dream. I can't imagine going back to college, I'm gonna be honest with you. No thanks. And so, being a teacher and an educator is in my blood. I always tell people, over dinner, we would talk about assessments and the quality of assessments. These are facts. We still do that, talk about that at dinner parties in my family. So that's where I come from. And that's who I am as an educator. And I ended my time at the Maryland State Department of Ed, so I'm still in the Arts Council today, about 1.5 years ago, where I was leading policy making and curriculum development for the state. I spent a lot of time here at the Chesapeake Arts Center, actually. And so in addition to that, who I am is also I'm an artist. And a lot of my art making is art making that happens in community. I'm the founder of Sister Cities Girl Choir, which is an ensemble that spans 3 states, Maryland, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philly thinks they're their own state anyway, so they like that. And so we have about 400 young people in our choir. We started with 12 young people in 2012 and quickly expanded. This is an ensemble where we intentionally work to remove access barriers. So it's very inexpensive to be a member. It's $50 for the year, which is about 3% of the cost per young person. We provide transportation, we provide food access, we provide babysitting for siblings. If your baby brother, usually you're taking care of your baby brother after school, you can bring him and somebody else will take care of him while you're in rehearsal, that kind of thing. Just trying to remove any access barrier so that young people can be a participant in creative community. And today, some of my keynote will incorporate these things, because this is who I am, this is what I bring. I bring all of these young people with me everywhere I go. So we're gonna talk today about racial equity principles, and we are gonna create something. I'm gonna say that again, just so you're not surprised later. We are gonna create something today. We're gonna create a piece of art today, and I look forward to that. I also represent the Maryland Arts Institute of Racial Justice, which is an amazing program that is supported by Maryland Citizens for the Arts. Let's give a round of applause for Maryland Citizens for the Arts. And Nicholas Cohen, I don't know if he's here yet, but he's here today. He's gonna be speaking, and he's the executive director there, and they are our arts advocacy organization for the state, which is really phenomenal. And so we've partnered with them, and this is a free institute for arts administrators and artists that are looking to deepen their connection to racial justice. There's some alums here in the audience, so you can also talk to people over lunch and ask them, what was it like? What was it like? Was it incredible? Was it transformative? Did you learn something new? So at Mirage, which is what we call it often, we have these set of racial equity principles that we share. Foundation principles like setting explicit goals, working on all levels, impact over intention, implementation principles like nothing about us without us, accountability to people and principles, and finally, perception principles that reflection is critical. I can't talk about all of those in the time I have with you today, so we're gonna focus on one, which is nothing about us without us. Nothing about us without us, which is a principle that comes from the disability justice work. If you've ever seen the Netflix film Crip Camp, anybody seen that? Watch it today, it's so good, it's very powerful. And it follows a group of young people that in the 60s and 70s got a chance to go to summer camp and experience life away from the expectations, the lowered expectations of society. Got a glimpse, therefore, of liberation. And they brought that back home with them, and those young people grew into adults and became the adults that pushed forward the American Disabilities Act and got it passed. So the power of a glimpse of what my life could be, what things could be, is very critical and important. And it is what art brings to the table, the power of a glimpse. And so nothing about us without us reminds us that we must not ever move forward with any decision making. We must not ever look down on people who are below in terms of marginalization and make decisions for people. We must include people in the decisions that we make. And so when we talk about that, it sounds like, oh, sure, that makes sense. We should make decisions. We should allow a number of people to make their own decisions. But there's some things that oppose it, some things that are part of our artistic culture and some things that are part of American culture that sometimes make it a struggle to implement nothing about us without us. Some of those things are this idea of a concentration of power, that power should be held by a small group of people, and that power is limited. It's a pie. If I give you some of this pie, wait a minute, then I'm getting less pie. But what we know about power to be true is that power is limitless, just like love is limitless. I have a younger brother, so I remember when he was born, I was nervous as a young person, as a 5-year-old, that my mother would then love me less. Well, I'm still her favorite, yeah. It's just, it's just my brother is her favorite too, So love grows exponentially to make room, and so does power. And also, this concentration of power doesn't value collective decision making. But what we know, even scientifically, is that when we make decisions with a diversity of opinions, we get the best decision. We know that as artists as well, that when we collaborate on ideas, that we allow them to elevate. And so I'm happy to put my idea in the center of the room and allow other people to add to it to make the best decision. But concentration of power doesn't believe in that. The other thing that Nothing About Us Without Us pushes against is paternalism. That people that are in power feel entitled to make decisions for those without because they know what is best. And so you don't have to worry about that from your arts councils, but other philanthropy folks often do feel that way. They often feel like they should drive the priorities, they should drive the solutions for communities that are in need, communities they are not a part of, communities that they often wouldn't even drive through without fear, that they think that they know what's best because of their point of view. But what Nothing About Us Without Us forces us to remember is that the people closest to a problem have the best view of it, understand it the best, and are the closest to the solution. And then finally, defensiveness. That those in power feel personally threatened if anyone suggests changes. This is how it's always been, it's tradition. And we as artists know about that too. I am a trained classical musician, so you can imagine that I still find myself sometimes thinking, this is how it's supposed to be, because that's what I learned, and allowing myself to breathe and say it's okay for things to change. It's okay for things to change. Shout out to classical musicians. So what I'm presenting to you today is also this idea of a continuum of engagement, because the next question is, well, how do I find and connect with people that I'm maybe in their community and I'm gonna make some decisions for? And I wanna share this resource from the Wilder Foundation. It's a continuum of engagement, and it looks at the farthest left, the first level of engagement being feedback. This idea that, hey, our work is already in motion, but we want you to tell us how well we're doing and how we can improve it. And a lot of arts organizations do that. We send surveys after the show, we maybe have exit tickets on the way out, those kinds of things where we ask for feedback after something has gone. And I wanna say that that is great, right, as a first level of engaging someone. Then the second level of engagement would be input, where we have partially developed an idea and we need your input to help us flesh it out. And the third level of engagement, the highest form of really engaging a community or a person, would be co-creation. And aren't we lucky because we know how to co-create, because we're artists? And that means that we want to partner with you to develop an idea. We want to work together with you from implementation, from inception, all the way through implementation. We don't bring you in at the end just to give us some feedback on how we can do better next time. And so this idea of co-creating with communities, co-creating with the people that you want to serve, is what I'm hopefully making you feel inspired to do today. So that is the backbone of radical creativity. Radical creativity is what I call the creative process when it is intended intentionally for social change. When we say, I'm looking to make a transformation in the way that I approach my work. I want it to uplift the community and make the world a better place. And so I'm employing the tool of creativity in order to do so. So every creative process is, of course, not radical, and that's okay. But we're talking today about radical creativity, a kind of creativity that can shake things up, the kind of creativity that gives us a glimpse of a liberated future. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my work with Sister Cities and how we've employed this principle. So in 2018, we drafted an art strategy goal that would allow us to lean into radical creativity and make it a central part of the way that we worked. Our girls have been singing for a while. Our choir is 12 years old, which is lovely. And these young women have performed at many a quinceañera, many a senior citizens home, many a back-to-school event, but they've also performed at the Kennedy Center. They've performed at Carnegie Hall, right? They are very prolific. They've performed everywhere, and they will sing at the drop of a hat. But the thing that we were not doing with them, we were singing music, we were singing classical music, we were singing hip-hop music, we were singing a little jazz, a little musical theater, so really making sure that we were being diverse in our musical choices. But we weren't, and we were also talking about the music in very deep ways, making connections. But what we weren't doing was we didn't have any space in our program for young people to create new things. Something that wasn't there before, to use their powers of thinking and communication and collaboration to share their story and perspective directly, not through the lens of another person, not through the lens of some of my favorite composers like Brahms or Beyonce. And so what we decided to do was to really deeply shift our mission with this art strategy goal that by 2024, which in 2028 seems so long ago and is quickly approaching, 50% of the repertoire we would perform every year would be original works. Original songs that were written from our purple community, which is our young people, our staff, and our families. And at the time, I, for one, had never written a song in my life, but I was very inspired by a non-artistic friend. Does anyone have a non-artistic friend? Yes, get you one of those. They're good to have. I was out to lunch with a non-artistic friend, and I was complaining about the choral canon and how a lot of songs that are written for treble choir are not suited for the modern, whatever this generation is called, Generation Z, whatever they're called, person. A lot of songs written for girl choir or treble voice choir, things about like being a flower waiting for a honeybee. And our girls were like, I'm not waiting for nothing. When I want an opportunity, I gotta make it. I'm 12. And like, okay. And they wanted to sing about being volcanoes, about being on fire, if anything, with nature. And we didn't have any songs like that in the canon. And my non-musical friend said, well, don't you have a master's degree from Peabody? Why can't you write all the songs? And I was like, how dare you? You don't know anything about music. That's not what I do. I'm a singer. I sing. I don't write the songs. And he was like, that's weird. That's weird. I said, well, tell me, what do you mean? And he said, well, again, you have an advanced degree from one of the best conservatories in the world, and you can't write a song for children to sing? That seems strange. And I thought about that for so long, about how some of our artistic training has limited us to believe that we are only one thing. But remember, just like power, knowledge is limitless. And the thing that got us into music making or dance or theater may have been one small aspect, but we are also creators, and we can build new things. We can share our stories, our experiences as performers and as administrators. And so I thought to myself, it took me about 2 months, I thought, they're right. Of course I can write music. Of course I can compose. I am a creative person. So we started on our journey. And in 2020, during the COVID pandemic, we were entirely virtual. Just a reminder that one of the first super spreader events, that word showed up for the first time surrounding a choir rehearsal. So singing is breath. And so when you have a pandemic going around where people are breathing and getting sick, choir rehearsal should not be happening. And so we sheltered in place, like all of us did, but we also stayed connected through the power of Zoom. So thank you, Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. Through the power of Zoom, and we kept the young people engaged and connected through that time. We also wrote a ton of music during a time filled with so much uncertainty, so much change. We committed to also, on top of all of the personal things of navigating a pandemic, we committed as a team to learn how to do virtual performances. You all remember that? Lord, it's so challenging. Yeah, it's like beautiful we did it, but also I remember crying at my computer several times, yeah? It took 100 hours to make one performance. 1 3-minute performance. At least that's how long it took us, yeah? From the recording with young people, getting their images, to the editing. But we did it anyway, and we also led them through quite a few songwriting exercises. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna encourage us to use one of the prompts that we used at Sister Cities. So we commissioned a song cycle from a group of 12-year-old girls they called it When I Sing. And by what I mean by that is I said, hey, we got 20 minutes to fill in a concert in 10 months. It needs to be filled with singing, virtual singing, and good luck. And they were like, okay. And they wrote a song cycle, a group of 4 songs. And the themes of the pieces were decided by them. They wrote all of the instrumentation. They wrote all of the melodies, and they wrote all the words. And so today I hope that we can be inspired by them and use the prompt from one of my favorite songs of theirs, One Day, which encourages us to take a glimpse into a future possibility. So I'm gonna ask you in a minute, but not yet, to write a poem. Yep. And you're gonna have 3 minutes to do it, so it's gonna be imperfect, and that actually is the best way. Remember that a poem, like Nikki Giovanni told me recently, a poem is the language of revolution. So that means that a poem can rhyme, cannot rhyme, can be long, can be short, can be a bulleted list, can be any words that feel affirming and true. That's a poem. So I'm gonna encourage you today to write a stanza of a poem, and I'll guide you through it in just a second. So I want you to imagine that the world that you want is on the way. If you could dream up a new reality in our arts world, what would it look like, sound like? What would be different? Here's a great question. Who would be valued? What would be celebrated? I want you to use your imagination to share one idea, and I'm going to encourage you to write a short poem, one stanza of a poem, that then we're going to put together into a community poem, and we're going to premiere the world performance of the Chesapeake Arts Center, August 16th, 2023, community poem performance, which will take place in about 8 minutes. So I want you to begin your short poem with One Day, and I'm gonna show you some examples from our young people. In between each poem, if you'll snap, because that's what the kids do. All right, here's a few poems, and they've given me permission to share them. One day, marriage is free. There are no ghost relatives taking up space with their absence. Love is equal. One day, I'll worry about the sun and not a pool of blood of one of my family members because of a redundant shot of privilege. This one is my favorite because I love it when people break rules. So you see they all start with one day. Here's this one. Just maybe one day. We don't have to watch our backs. One day to walk freely, no more being scared. One day, weapons won't be easier to get than women's products or the healthcare you need. The young people are watching. They know things, right? And then finally, one day, everyone will be treated fair and equally, where I don't have to be scared when I know my friends are walking alone. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, because that's how long it takes to write a poem. I've done a lot of science on this. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write. You can use, of course, pen or paper if you have it. You can write on your phone. I'm going to write something on my phone. And I'd like you to write one stanza. Remember, we are going to join folks up at the front. In a minute, but not yet, we'll share it with a neighbor. And then we'll get 8 brave people to come up and create our performance for us. And that will close out our keynote for today. So here you go. You've got 3 minutes. I'll see you again at 9:50. Good luck. Everyone take a breath. 3 minutes, it's so good. Creativity is right on it's bustling out of all of us, right? So we have it at our disposal. All right, remember these are imperfect poems, and you don't have to share that when you share with your neighbor in a moment. They already know, they were here, it took you 3 minutes, right? So, so you don't have to be like, look, it's only, but don't do that. Just be bold, and I want you to share with your neighbor. I'm gonna give you a minute. Will you each share and just thank each other for the opportunity to hear from the other person? So you have 1 minute, go ahead and share with the person beside you. What? All right. Great job. All right. Thank your pair. Maybe you made a new friend. You just shared with them a vision for the future. Yeah? You just time traveled with them. This is powerful stuff. It's magic in this kind of stuff. All right. Raise your hand if you heard something that was inspiring. You should be quick because the person beside you is looking to see if you're gonna raise your hand. They're like, why she didn't raise her hand? I thought mine was very inspiring. Right. All right, cool, great. Awesome. We're looking for, and we'll have to walk quickly. You're going to come up these stairs. What we're going to do is I'll tell you the number in a moment. A group of poets are going to line up here, and we're going to read our poems. What will we do in between each poem? That's right, we'll snap for them. They'll line up here at the end of the poem reading. We'll all take a bow together. This is our world premiere of our community poem. All right, I need 7 poets if you'll come to the front. There we go, 1, 2, perfect. Clap for them as they come. It's very churchy of me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, perfect, come on up. Yes, if you stood up, come. Yeah, don't worry about the number. I made the number up, who am I? Yes, please come if there's more. That's fine. Perfect. She needs to be first, she said. That's how it is.
I said I did not mean.
Oh, okay. I thought she said, I need to be first. I love that. I love that. If you had said that, I was loving it. All right, so what we'll do is, tell me your name.
Nefertiri.
Nefertiri will be first. Nefertiri will decide for us when the poem begins, when she steps to the front. We're just reading our poems, right? We're not stepping forward with any disclaimers. Everybody knows that? Okay, all right, perfect. And in between, you'll snap for each person. Come on down, perfect. I'm gonna go last, will you tell me your name? Elaine, I said 7, look how many there are. It's not up to me, I didn't write the poem. I'll go last, and then when I go, that's your cue to rise to your feet after I'm done and clap for all these people, you got it? Because they're very brave, correct? All right, so there's a lot of love in the room. All right, look, people are clapping already. Clap for them before. I love it. All right. And now, introducing the world premiere. If you missed it, you missed it. You'll never hear it again. The world premiere of One Day, a community poem presented at the Chesapeake Arts Center.
One day, mental peace will be a cloud waiting to be touched, so easily to be reached, away from no one's grasp, and appreciated for its presence.
Love yourself first. Too fast, too slow. Too short, not tall enough. Hang on to you, to yourself, always be true. These are long sentences. Never enough, never alone. Take the jump at your pace. It's you who's looking you in the face.
One day we will. One day we won't. One day I'll be more than I ever was. And one day I'll find the restroom. Can somebody let me know where that is?
One day, it will be unending. One day, unending. So don't tell me your latest pitch, just a brochure dream. You see it as a temp fix, a profit scheme. One day, unending. One day, forever.
One day, music will flow free. One day, art will flow free. One day, dance will flow free. One day, you and I will be free. Free to be who we are, as we are, free.
Is today the day, that one day, when kindness prevails? Is today the day, that one day, when love prevails? That one day, when freedom prevails?
One day, there will come a time when all people will respect each other. People of all colors, income levels, and faith traditions will engage and celebrate with each other.
One day, all people will seek truth. One day, we will all be heard. One day, all people will be valued. One day, we will become we, the people.
Today, I will never look back or forward for the one day of unlimited joy and perfect moments. I am given this one day to live unbound by limitations set by physics or science or social commentary. One day is today, one day that is eternally mine and priceless.
One day, art centers are laboratories for liberation and justice for all. With bands and orchestras and dancers and choirs and mariachis and DJs and steel pans and quattros, all vibing and brewing with potential and possibility. Today's artists are today's community leaders, policymakers, neighbors, ready to collaborate and explore the big ideas and refine and revise the systems so we can elevate and then celebrate a new world full of beauty, melody, and harmony for all. Head on out. Please, 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 there we go. Come on out. Yes, look, they're clapping for you. Take a bow, please, and bow. There we go. Excellent, excellent. Beautiful work, yes? Did you find the bathroom, sir? Awesome. Thank you so much, poets. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being so generous with your beauty and your words. Also, there were at least 12 masterpieces that were shared, up on this stage, yes? So again, thank you so much. I want to share one last thing with everyone, which is I like to end always with the words of a Black woman. So I'm going to invite us to hear the words of Oh Happy Danny, who reminds us that often, and there's a cycle of inaction, a horrific injustice occurs, we experience shock and confusion, it leads us to some emotional response. We see performative allyship, all of our Facebook pages turn yellow or black or rainbow or some other thing. Then we experience guilt and fatigue. I'm tired of saying yellow or black or rainbow. That leads us to inaction and passivity. That leads us to apathy. And then we wait until the next horrific injustice occurs. But what we do know, thanks to Danny, is that there is a remedy for this, a cycle of action. So when horrific injustice takes place, we won't be overtaken by shock and confusion, as if the fruit of systemic oppression is surprising. Instead, our emotional response will be marked by empathy and compassion, leading to a rejection of performative allyship in exchange for the real vigorous work. And should guilt and fatigue try to settle in, we'll recenter the needs of those yearning for liberation. We'll recenter the needs of those yearning for liberation, remembering that inaction and passivity are detrimental to justice, and that apathy is the antithesis of unconditional love. Thank you so much today.